It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the world, we are Red Eye Radio. Good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today. You can listen when and where you want if you can't listen live overnight. Yes, back from vacation. Seems like we were gone for months.
It seems like I have been gone for a year. It's like Steve Martin and the Jerk. The first day was like one day. The second day was more like 3 days. I was very sick. I had COVID. I have other problems, too. Not illnesses, just problems.
Mm-hmm. No, we know.
And
we're well aware.
We came in Thursday night, the 12th, which was going to be, because last week was a planned vacation. It was on the calendar. And thank you, Dan Mandis, for doing such a great job while we were gone, as he always does.
Dan.
And we come in, and I'm feverish. Now, that morning, I tested, because you and I had been sick that whole week.
Yeah.
And I tested, my wife tested, both negative, but I was feverish. I mean, it was ramping up. And by the time I got here, I just looked at you and said, I don't think I can stay. I mean, I was just sick.
Yeah, you were. And I just looked at you and I said, I hadn't slept in 30 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I was coming out of it. I knew I was getting better, but I hadn't slept.
Right.
And it was interesting because you said, I only came in because I didn't want you to do the show alone. And I said, I looked at you and said, I only came in because I didn't want you to do the show alone.
Yeah.
And it's like I couldn't even process thoughts. But I wasn't as sick as you last week. By the time I got to Saturday, I was fine. And I did, before I went to see my dad, I did take a COVID test.
That Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I don't remember at all. I don't remember anything after leaving here and immediately going back to bed that Thursday night until Monday morning. I mean, I know some things happened because apparently there's record of it. But, I mean, I don't know. I don't remember anything. I was just so out of it. And then Monday morning, tested again, and I was positive. My wife was positive. Also some pneumonia going on. And, it was like, okay, here we go again. And because I had it in January of 2022. My wife and I both had it at the same time then. Well, it was like, at least I have the week. Right? That's the good news. But had you asked me at any point, especially when we were leaving here that Thursday night, I would have told you it'll be a month before I can work again. I felt that bad. But like the first time, the turnaround starts to happen. For me, my experience, the turnaround starts to happen. And while I don't have the energy, the strength, or anything else, I lost 14 pounds. I'm pretty excited about that. Yeah.
What's that diet again?
Yeah, exactly. Global pandemic. You can lose weight too.
Well, what was interesting is that's never happened before in our 18 years because we actually both came in and the show was ready to go. It was probably about 25 minutes?
Yeah.
Or maybe a half hour before. No, as soon as you walked in.
Yeah.
As soon as you walked in, we just looked at it okay.
It was,
and when you said, and I said, you can't do it, and I can't. I can't. And it was, there wasn't really too much thought. We were pretty out of it if it was that kind of immediate decision that took like 5 seconds. Yeah. It didn't take long.
Yeah. No, it was.
There wasn't a lot of, what do you think? It was like, no.
I knew it wasn't going to happen for me. And, but it's weird for me both times. The turnaround happens where I'm like rock bottom. And then the following day, now I slept a lot. The following day of that rock bottom, then all of a sudden I start, and there's great doctors, medications, and the whole thing, everything else that I can, attribute this to, but the turnaround was pretty much the same. After that worst day, then I get a day that, by contrast, I feel like $1 million. Then you get up, you take a shower and get dressed, and it's clear that's about all you're going to get done that day. I mean, I have zero strength. I had zero strength. It's coming back. First solid food Saturday afternoon.
Wow.
Yeah. Everything else was soup, protein drinks, and other not energy, but the hydration stuff that I drank so much of that. I had, they say drink lots of fluids. I couldn't possibly drink more fluids during that time.
Well, I mean, I visited Dad, and he was fine. Like I said, I took a COVID test, so I was negative, and I'm sure I've had COVID, and I probably had it along with you for the first 3 days. Mm-hmm. But when I tested before I went back to see Dad, just to make sure, I tested negative again. But I just didn't think of it when I got it. I just thought it was a regular cold last week. But
because if you would have said to me, "Hey, you don't have COVID and you just have a cold or upper respiratory, whatever,"
I thought you did. Same with me, because we both.
No,
had
that's actually what I did have until I tested positive. I don't know if it was dormant and then I tested positive. I don't know. My wife had been sick for a few weeks, and then was getting better. And the week that we were sick, she was getting better, the week before the vacation. She was not on vacation last week, but ended up, of course, having to work from home because she tested positive for COVID. So,
and I will admit, for a moment I thought that, oh no, got to email our boss and tell him that we're taking the day off before we're on a week's vacation because we're sick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which
he believed us.
Yeah, I know. We got away with it. Yeah.
Well, we were here in studio ready to go, and it was there's just that would have been a great day if we were been here, because there was so much to talk about.
There was a lot going on that happened on that Thursday leading up to that show that night. So this is the problem that we've had all along, and that is, just as we get out of here, I don't know if it's a problem, but the situation is, as soon as we take off for vacation, or when we're on vacation, we're gone, so much stuff happens. But if you actually look at it, if you stand back and look at the entire equation, there's always something. These days, there's always big news.
There really is.
There isn't. Following everything going on with the first blaming Israel for the rocket that hit the hospital, and the liberal media jumping on that before they knew the facts. Even in my sickened viral state, I knew, well, wait, we're going to have to wait for intel. U.S. intel will tell a lot. And there's no doubt that we have a ton of information and multiple ways to gather that information, which is exactly what they said at the beginning. And then over the weekend, the Wall Street Journal putting out a video piece that's very interesting with evidence right there that shows you that this was a missile that was fired from Gaza. It misfired midair, made the turn, and came back. And that was the quite unfortunate result. It hit that hospital, but it was in fragments. It also hit a couple of vehicles. Different fragments did. They exploded. There was fuel still on board this missile as it hit. And so that was a massive explosion. Everyone saw the video. That was part of the presentation the Wall Street Journal put out. You can go to their YouTube channel, and it's not there's no paywall for their videos that they put out from the Wall Street Journal, but it is, I think, very clear depiction and analysis of how this went down from 4 different camera perspectives, including Al Jazeera had a camera there just west of the hospital, a few blocks west of that hospital. They were reporting live. Then there were some other people there in Gaza and other sources there that showed a total of 4 cameras and perspectives that showed that this was a missile that was a long-range missile that was fired from Gaza. I think it's important to see this and the way that it was presented by the Wall Street Journal. You and I always we try, and I had a family member text me, "Hey, what do you think?" And I said, "Well, it doesn't sound like something Israel would do."
No,
but intel will tell us.
Yeah,
and Israel was already on. They were already saying, they were already making statements that this was not us. But I said to my relative, I said, "Hey, yeah, we'll see, but there is intel. There will be U.S. intel on this than there was." But I think the piece by the Wall Street Journal, them putting that out, is something that puts the puzzle together. And now I don't know anybody that's questioning it, except for maybe Hamas.
No, nobody's questioning it. We played earlier. You can go back and listen to our podcast. It's I believe it's in the first hour, first or second hour that we did it, with Bill Maher interviewing Brett Stevens from the New York Times, saying that was a horrible headline that your paper put in, and the evolution of that headline that kept changing.
Yeah,
online, and the Babylon Bee, because they have the CNN covering it, and then CNN having breaking news and the banner, "Fog of war hindering accurate reporting."
Yeah.
And
right.
And that's Babylon Bee's headline. CNN blames fog of war for errant reporting on Gaza bombing. Russia collusion. Jussie Smollett. Covington Catholic. Hunter's laptop. The Steele dossier. Kyle Rittenhouse. Origins of COVID.
Clock boy.
And then
I'll throw in Clock boy.
And then it says, continued an article. Please click for more. Clock boy. I forgot about whatever happened to Clock boy.
Well, no, remember, but how they all just jump on something and want that so much to be the truth when they don't even know themselves yet.
And it just keeps going. Trump calling Charlottesville neo-Nazis fine people. COVID-19 vaccine effectiveness. Bubba Wallace garage news. Trump telling people to inject themselves with bleach. BLM riots being mostly peaceful. Border Patrol agents whipping migrants. Trump commandeering his own limo. Duke University lacrosse team rape allegations. Critical race theory not being taught in public schools. The weather. The Los Angeles Dodgers having any chance of winning the World Series.
Yeah. Wow.
And they just keep going on it. Just Dewey defeating Truman.
Yeah. I mean, no, seriously.
Oh my.
And it's it is a morbid thought. Trying to put yourself in that mindset where they're shaping headlines that they want it to be. Many on the left all over the world wanted that rocket to have come from Israel. They so wanted that rocket to become. They wanted that to be the case, and they were ready to come down on Israel.
That was the National Review headline, the top headline. The media will never forgive Israel for not bombing that hospital.
Exactly. I mean, that's exactly the approach.
Yeah. You just saw how Ilhan Omar jumped on it immediately.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Of course.
And the left did. But that, I'll tell you, that's one thing that I did notice being on vacation, because my brother, after I visited my dad, my brother came back with me and spent a few days. We golfed, did a bunch of different things. By the way, a couple things that I did notice, since I don't go out that much, want to take him to this really nice, this old Victorian home right near where I live, and it serves breakfast and lunch. And it's just the coolest little place you could ever go to. So we get there, and I'm like, well, it doesn't look like there's a lot of people. Well, I guess I normally come here on a Saturday when it'd be more crowded. Knock on the door, nothing. We start walking away. Somebody opens the door. It's like, I guess it was the owner. Sorry, we're closed. We can't find people.
Can't find workers.
Whoa.
And
then I just found out yesterday, I always talk about that brewery that's around me that's got a great taco place, best barbecue you could possibly imagine, and just great beer. But I can't have much of it because, as you know, the breweries make heavy beers that are just got tons of carbs. It's not even the alcohol I need to avoid.
Yeah.
It's the that's when you know you're old.
Yeah.
Oh, so you can't drink? You need to avoid the alcohol? I wish. It's the carbs.
Exactly.
But they're closing. Ingredients, put it. I haven't been there in months, but it was like they're closing. They just said, we survived. They opened during COVID.
Right. Yeah.
And they said, we survived COVID. We survived everything. Couldn't survive the increase in prices.
One near me just closed the same reason. And it's this is kind of where we are right now. And I saw some anecdotal evidence, had communication with people, while I was sick on vacation last week, even communicating with people. And they're just, you've seen where now prices are and the spending power that's been depleted, eroded, destroyed by this administration and this president's party. This inflation is killing budgets. Budget. Say that word to anybody. They'll laugh at you.
We'll have more stories on this coming up. 866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
The final 8 days of October have been associated with the annual awareness campaign known as Bat Week. And as Kim Winter of the U.S. Forest Service acknowledges,
that was entirely intentional.
With the obvious connection of bats with the spooky season.
One of those iconic symbols of Halloween is a bat. So we decided to leverage that image of bats, but to turn the narrative, to turn it into something positive.
Emphasizing their role in pollination, insect control, and seed dispersal, which benefit all manner of crops, plants, and trees. Also emphasized the need to protect the over 1,400 species of bats from various threats to their survival. Winter adds Bat Week has grown over time to become an international event. More details on Bat Facts and Bat Week events are available online at www.batweek.org.
To see if there's anything local or even plan their own Bat Week event.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, just looking at inflation, just how it's affecting people. Higher car prices and rising interest rates are hindering car owners' ability to afford their vehicle payments, as 6.1% of subprime auto borrowers are at least 60 days past due on their loans, the highest percentage in data dating back to 1994, according to Bloomberg. Citing Fitch Ratings. The 6.1% of borrowers behind on auto loans last month marks a surge from the 2.6 reported in May of 2021 after the federal government significantly lowered interest rates in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic. So it says the editor of Finch told Bloomberg that subprime borrowers can be the first indication of where we start to see the negative effects of macroeconomics headwinds. Not only that, but there's more here. Halloween candy up 13% this year.
Yeah, sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today. Listen when and where you want if you can't listen live overnight. I was just reading here on automobiles, just on the number of inflation stories over the last couple of days.
Yeah.
All right. And we talked about Americans now are overdue with their car payments at highest rate in nearly 30 years for subprime. Okay. Now that leads to, as I say, that's a great indicator of where the economy might be going. Interest rates for used cars right now are 13.5% on average for those with fair credit, but 21% for those with bad credit.
Wow. I don't know how you do that.
No.
Well, the salesman, hey, where do you want your payment to be? I don't know, below $5,000 a month for this 98 Corolla?
More. Nearly 60% of Americans now are cutting back on spending on live entertainment, including amusement parks, rock concerts, and the performing arts, as prices continue to soar through the roof, according to a new survey of 1,000 individuals conducted by the Wall Street Journal and Credit Karma. Many Americans are being forced to eliminate fun from their budgets altogether. Roughly 26% of survey respondents said they don't spend any money at all on live entertainment, up from 16% before the pandemic. One analyst dubbed the phenomena funflation, the latest sign that American households are being crushed by inflation. The cost of admissions and fees rose faster than the prices of food, gasoline, or other necessities in 2022, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
I have a friend in the industry, and he's on tour now with a group. He's not a musician. He's a tech. He's a guitar tech. And he and this other person that I know that's a lighting tech have both told me the same thing. Right now, it's never been more expensive to tour for the big artists. So essentially, there's Taylor Swift, and then there's everybody else. And I wondered, because I posed the question, and it's not really known, but you see these artists doing their final tour. Aerosmith, I think they've been on their final tour for about 40 years. Elton John, all these other artists that are basically giving up the touring thing. I wonder how much of it is not just the expense of touring, but also knowing that you really can't sell tickets, again, unless you're Taylor Swift. And then, even then, I mean, she'll just make for those that can't afford the tickets, we'll just make a movie about the concert. I mean, I wonder, and I don't get out much to see live shows. It's not, I did so much of that playing and going to concerts when I was younger than I didn't. It's like it doesn't appeal to me anymore.
I've gone to more shows this year than I have probably in 30 years.
Yeah.
Because it'll be at least 6,
right?
Which is just by coincidence.
Yeah.
And by a couple of buddies telling me, come on back to New York for this show. I'm not doing that again. I didn't get any sleep.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm not going to do that. But we're not talking about major artists except for Trans-Siberian.
Right. Yeah.
Which I did see people were asking on the blog the other day. We just can't afford these ticket prices. They're out of reach. And actually, for Trans-Siberian, they're pretty reasonable.
Right. Yeah.
For concert tickets compared to a Taylor Swift, Elton John, whatever, Bruce Springsteen.
Right.
On his tour and all the complaints there, where you're talking about hundreds upon hundreds of dollars for one ticket.
Right. My son and I talked about it over the last week, communicated about going to Maynard James Keenan of Tool, lead singer of Tool.
Yeah.
He turned 60. He did this for his 50th, where all 3 of the bands that he's in are all on stage at the same time, and Primus is also going to be there and be on the. So it's like 4 bands, and they're all so good, in my opinion. They're just brilliant musicians, but it's a huge birthday party for his 60th, and it's next. Their stop here is going to be in April, so we're going to go. But that's more of a thing for me and my son to go. We did the thing with when he was younger, much younger, with Van Halen back in the day. We did, we've done a couple of shows. I took my second daughter, I took her to NSYNC in 2000. That was in 2000. And now she's an executive and the whole thing. And NSYNC was on TV the other day, and I sent her this text and the whole thing saying, "Isn't that crazy? We went to this show and Pink opened, and it was a bunch of, basically adolescent girls screaming. I couldn't hear the act except for when Pink was on stage, and she was unbelievable. But for me to be drawn to a show, for me to say, all right, I have to go, that would be an exception. And now you look at it, and I think for a lot of people it is, but you're counting, if you're an artist, look, you've got to fill that, that venue. You've got to get a good percentage of those seats sold, those tickets sold, in order to make, where they are right now. I don't know how big it is. I know right now that my neighbor, who's the guitar tech, is touring with the band Chicago. Well, they've got 84 people in that band.
And if Earth, Wind, and Fire is touring with them,
forget it.
There's like
just your food bill. If they ate at Taco Bell every day, their food bill would price them out of the marketplace.
Well,
and it's
when you talk about it, it's interesting because I think about the concerts I went to this year: 39, 49,
25, 624.
$39, $49, 60.
Yeah.
I think Trans-Siberian, 110 each after fees.
Okay.
Which still is reasonable for a concert ticket.
Right.
And then 40. Those are the ones I remember right now. Those are all even 60.
Oh yeah,
was worth it for me because it was in a club and the sound was perfect, and so it was a great experience. Trans-Siberian's just become sort of an tradition for me. I mean,
yeah.
I was one of the first people to play them before they were even,
I always sabotage days.
Yeah, I always say I broke them because I played, as a bumper on my talk show in Buffalo, because the original keyboardist father was a fan of my show. Said, "Hey, I hear you like to play some Christmas music. Try my son's band, Sabotage." I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm going to play this.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, this is great, and played it.
Right.
A couple of years later, I hear Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I hear that song. I go, no, that's Sabotage.
Right.
No, that's Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I go, oh, what did they do? And so it's just been, for me, it's more of a holiday event. But what I look at is, I was watching the other day, a hockey game. Hockey tickets are expensive.
Yeah.
And you've got a lot of games, and I see many of these markets that hockey teams are in are not thriving markets. And I'm thinking, but remember, they don't get television money the way that the NFL does.
Right.
And I sit there and I think of these tickets and how much people are paying. I saw somebody the other day was paid $400 to sit behind the foul pole, the foul line, the pole, but it was still worth it. Great seat to have, better than behind. I was like, $400. $400 for one game. I know it's a playoff game, but it's I don't know. And the thing is, now that I have the ability to afford these things, I still don't see a return of entertainment investment.
The value.
The value still isn't there. I remember.
If it were just me, I wouldn't go to that Tool show. But the fact that I'm going with my son, and his son, by the way, my youngest grandchild, is actually going to that show with us, and does pretty well
No,
with
it's a
headphones and
it's
everything else.
It's a good family thing.
Yeah, it is. It's pure
Well,
family entertainment.
When I went to see Elton John in '76, Boz Scaggs opening.
Yeah.
I mean, what a great show. I can still hear Boz Scaggs playing. He sounded great outdoors. But a young Elton John, 76, so he hadn't even been a hit artist for 10 years yet.
Right.
And 70, I think your song came out.
Yeah.
So 6 years, that's it. So I mean, it was, and we could afford the tickets, no problem. To go to an Elton John show, I mean, when he did his final tour for the last 5 years,
Yeah.
that was interrupted with COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd never pay that amount of ticket. I think I told you when Crossroads came to Dallas a couple of years ago, and I have the Crossroads, which is Eric Clapton's guitar festival concert
Every 3 years, yeah.
where he brings in a bunch of different art, and it's wonderful. And I have I saw the one they did in 2004. I have the DVD from the Cotton Bowl, and when I saw that, I went, I got to go, because you're talking about all forms of guitars. I mean, every genre of music, Indian music, you name it, on all different stages around. I'm like, I got to go. So they were playing at American Airlines Center a couple of years ago. Immediately go on. I have my special pre-sale because I have my Citibank card. Cheapest tickets, it was 2 days. Cheapest tickets, $800 a day. Go.
Yeah.
No, sorry.
No.
I know they say that Eric Clapton is God, but no.
Yeah, no.
Because God, I'd pay $800 for.
I'd probably pay more.
Exactly.
Probably.
We'd buy our way into heaven if we could.
Yeah.
But, so.
I might be willing to give my soul for God. I know it sounds crazy.
But when I look at those kind of prices, and then I see sporting events going on, and people do this consistently. They go to, they have got season tickets to the NBA or the NHL, whatever. I'm like, my God, you're talking about so much incredible money. And when you see, for example, what was it, the story here, just to give you an idea of how bad it's getting, that buying a home in 2023, with the high borrowing costs and steep home prices, potential buyers need in the United States to be making at least $114,000 to afford a medium-priced home in the United States. That's a new record.
Wow. And I question that because on those reads where they say, okay, this is what you need to be making. I'd say it's more, because I don't know how much when they, first of all, median priced, but you have to look at the cost of energy in any particular area can be much higher from, than versus California.
Yeah, I was going to use as an example. Those numbers can be totally skewed depending on where you live.
Exactly. And it's just, it's so hard to read that. I always look at it and go, yeah, double that. You do need to be making about $228. Wow. I mean, I don't know how the next generation is going to be able to afford anything if something isn't done to greatly expand the wealth in America. And I mean at a very, very, very healthy rate.
And there's no emphasis. There is no emphasis on doing it.
Nobody's calling for it.
All the emphasis is government control and government mandate what an economy should do.
Yep. Not about if we're going to spend, but how much.
And you're not going to get there that way.
You're not going to get there. Nope.
And it's not us saying it. It's the history of economics that says
Yep.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So who's going to be speaker by the end of the week?
James Biden. The president's brother.
I'm telling you the one thing. I mean, I was busy last week because my brother was with me, and so it was like, all right, I don't really know what's going on in the news. Let me just see. Did I get any updated note here? Oh, Jamie Raskin says that the Democrats have the perfect compromise speaker candidate that he believes both sides would be able to back. Who the heck could this be? Liz Cheney.
Yeah.
It's like,
Right. Actually,
my laughter was, oh, wow, they're just trolling. They were just trolling the Republicans on that
you know
one.
who I think has a pretty good shot? Nancy Pelosi. She has just as good a shot as any member of the GOP. Tell me where I'm wrong.
Yeah.
This is going to be crazy. I don't know where it ends.
No.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.